It's back and bigger than ever. The EWA Podcast, now live from Kansas City. This week we have on the man who fell short in a chance to become the Grand Slam champion at Lethal Lottery. That's right, it's Fuzz. So sit back and enjoy the sweet, soothing sounds of the Afro Genie. And welcome, everyone, to the EWA Podcast. It's official. We are back. Sorry for making you guys all wait 2 weeks, but I promise you it's worth it because I actually had to put this off for one day, this podcast, because my guest was out robbing Brett of his apartment. So welcome to the podcast, Fuzz, and I hear you have some nice new laptops and TVs. Is that correct?
I'll tell you what, man. This high-definition television is absolutely top of the line, Craig. It's just a shame I had to drive so far to, lift it. So
well, when you can get something for free, I say you travel no matter how far it is.
Hey,
and
it's like my father always said, why pay for something when you can just steal it from your best friend?
What? I thought that all of the collection and the belongings of people in the Vegas Connection was like a community chest, right? Like Cleve's wife is fair game to you.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So, feel free at any time. If you're ever in need of anything, there's always a spot for you in the Vegas Connection.
I always thought that was just a way to get to my butthole.
You act like I need that to get to your butthole,
No, you don't.
I just got to check Craigslist,
Burn, because that's my name.
Yeah. Oh.
That's my name. You never put that together?
No, man. That's that. Wow.
Yeah, it's true. It's called Craigslist, and my name's Craig. Anyways, welcome to the EWA Podcast. My guest this week is one half of the EWA Tag Team Champions. It's Fuzz. And Fuzz, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the EWA Tag Team Championships. You guys successfully defended your belt against what was, it seems to be universally agreed upon, were the number one contenders for quite a while for the tag team titles in the Coalition. And everybody came out and said the things that they needed to say, and they kiss ass, and they're like, oh, it was so close and it was tough to call. And you read the Coalition's role plays, I would assume. Do you feel like you guys beat the Coalition last week, role play wise?
Well, it's interesting. No. Honestly, no. Cleve and I, as we always do, we panic and we have to talk each other down. And multiple times we sent each other emails saying, I just read Bick's first role play. We're fucked. We're doomed. It's over. We might as well just bury our heads, And I read it, and I honestly didn't. I'll say this. I'm happy with what Cleve and I put out, and I thought it was good, and I thought it was creative, and I thought we at least tried to take some risks, at least for what we normally do, because we figured if there was any way to beat them, we were going to have to do something that we don't normally do, which doesn't mean that it was better or worse, but it was slightly out of the norm for us, but. No, I absolutely did not think that we were going to beat them. I'm still not convinced we deserve the win, but I'm definitely honored to claim it. I think it's a hell of an accomplishment whether we deserved it or not.
Is this the last time we see the Vegas Connection versus the Coalition?
Oh, spoilers. No. I hear. And correct me if I'm wrong, Craig, but I believe live on pay-per-view towards the end of this month is Red, White, and Bruised.
That's correct.
Well, let's just say this: we will be defending our tag team championship against potentially the Coalition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is breaking news on EWA Podcast.
Spoilers.
Let me ask you this, and I want you to answer this honestly, and I don't think you would do anything other than that because that's just how you are. Do you feel like the members of the EWA universe want the Vegas Connection to lose?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, originally, like, when we won the tag team championships, we thought it was a good idea to have, like, this powerhouse tag team to hold on to the belts, and that it would create competition, and that it would really, like, it would empower everybody to, like, start a tag team, and, like, we would just this division would flourish because of how great we were. But then what ended up happening is nobody stepped up, and we just kept winning, and then it got to the point where I do feel like every single person, including ourselves at times, want to see us lose. But ironically, though, everybody wants to see us lose, yet nobody is willing to step up and just try and beat us. Everybody would just prefer to, like, bitch, like, oh, these guys won again, or oh, fuck the Vegas Connection. But, like, honestly, like, if you want to see us lose and you want to see the belts on somebody else, just step up and beat us. Like, we've always, aside from the Coalition, we've never tried to avoid facing anybody before. And and I'll explain. It's interesting because the Coalition decided to beat every single combination of teams in the EWA before challenging us.
Almost like earning their shot at you instead of just claiming it.
Right. And simultaneously, Cleve and I kept saying, thank God those guys haven't asked for a title shot yet, because I think they might be the guys that beat us. And so it worked out in our favor. And so then when we actually did face them, and it was sort of a hectic week for me, and I wasn't able to throw myself into the role plays quite like I wanted to, but I think it was still a hell of a match. And they made me nervous because I thought they beat us both on quality and quantity. And so all we could do was do our best, and apparently in Newt's eyes, for one reason or another, that was good enough. So.
Do you ever write something and thoroughly enjoy it? Do you ever write something and say, yeah, that's better than that, guys? I mean, it seems like you're almost downplaying the stuff that you guys write.
Well,
or is it just easier to be pessimistic and keep your expectations lowered?
I think you're always your own worst critic, and I think just in general in life, any time that, like, I am too quick to celebrate about something, it's when it bites me in the ass the hardest.
Yeah,
so,
kicks you in the nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I always try and have. I know, Newt even said this in the Newtcast, the legendary fucking Newtcast, that like quantity doesn't necessarily mean that you win or whatever. So when I go to write a role play, I always try and write the best role play I can and try and beat somebody on quality. You know, is mine more interesting? Do I take chances? Does it flow better? But then I also, just because I am whoever I am, I also look at how long theirs is. So I always try and beat somebody on quality and quantity, at least in my own eyes, so that I can get a good night's rest thinking, okay, well, I've done everything I possibly can to try and beat these people. But the last two matches that I've had, the Coalition and then the week before against a Punk, they've both decided to write, like 3/4 of a novel for each role play, and it's I don't know. I mean, it's definitely pushed me to the point of insanity.
Right, we'll get to the Punk match here in a little bit. I wanna stick with the Vegas Connection just for now. Do you guys feel like perhaps you are, for lack of a better term, the John Cena of the EWA, where you're likable guys? You don't do anything wrong. You say all the right things in OOC and stuff, but people just want to see you lose. Is it jealousy, resentment? Like, how do you guys see it?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. And I don't necessarily think the John Cena analogy is a preferred one for me, because I'm not too fond of John Cena, and I too want to see him lose. But I don't know, man. This whole the fact that we're on the top of the tag team division is still a bit surprising for both Cleve and I, as we have spent the majority of the last 9 years role playing, and the last couple of years role playing in the EWA. We've spent it being at the complete bottom of every division that we've tried to compete in. So the fact that we're finally at the top of the division is a bit shocking for us. And so it's a bit frustrating when, in our eyes, we still feel like the underdog. You know, we still feel like fucking, I don't know, Billy Kidman out there. Like, we don't deserve to win, but yet somehow we're winning Torrie Wilson, you know, week after week or whatever. And so it's a bit frustrating when it does seem like everybody just wants us to lose or gets frustrated by our success, because, you know, to us, I feel like we deserve it, because we've literally lost almost every single match for 9 years straight. So I don't know. I don't know if I actually answered your question.
No, you're fine. So why is there how did Taz and Bully Ray come about? A second tag team for the tag team champions.
Well, Cleve has this addiction to, I don't know if you call it an addiction or obsessive compulsive or character anxiety or creative anxiety. I have no idea what diagnosis you want to give this, but Cleve has this problem where about every 2 weeks to every 2.5 weeks, he sends an email where he says, I'm joining as Big Show. You should join as Billy Gunn. Or, hey, if I pick up fucking...
and we'll be Big Guns.
Yes, exactly. Or he'll say, hey, I think I'm going to join as Manitar. If I join as Manitar, will you be Duke the Dumpster Drosy? So he has this problem where I think in his head, he runs out of ideas for whoever he's got, and so he thinks of a new idea for a new character, and then he immediately wants to pitch to me why I should join as a character to team with that character. And so recently, to talk him down from joining as about 17 new guys, I said, hey, how about instead of joining as another character, you try and make use out of the characters that you have? And he wanted to drop Taz and join as I don't know, every member of the Job Squad ever that wasn't already in the EWA, and start Job Squad 2.0 or some ridiculous idea. And that's not it at all. But to talk him down from dropping Taz, I said, how about I'll take Taz from you, and in exchange for me doing the favor of taking Taz, you do something with Bully Ray. And so we figured out, because I do really like his Bully Ray stuff, and I like his Taz stuff too. And I think the character Taz is a really good one, but it's often like it's not a character that usually sticks around in any Fed. And if it is around, it's Taz but 2 Z's, which is sort of disgusting and fat. And so my solution to him joining as a new character was, hey, do something exciting with Bully Ray, and I'll take Taz. And so that's that, and we're trying to do something with it, and it's interesting. They're both tough guys. They're both from New York. They're both pissed off, FTW, etc. So, and
of course, Newt loves Taz, which we established. So
yeah,
it's always good to have a guy Newt likes.
Well, we thought he liked Taz, but I believe he said on the Newtcast, I don't give a fuck about Taz, or I don't give a crap about Taz, or something like that.
I haven't listened to Newt's podcast. I'll have to go back and catch that.
Well, I transcribed it, because I figured if there was ever a chance that I was going to come close to beating Punk, that I would have to listen to Newt's every piece of hidden advice in his Newtcast.
Let's go to the Punk match, and I wanna steer this conversation here. I wanna ask you. You post your first role play, which was tremendous and universally once again agreed upon as a great piece of writing. And then TZ posts his first role play, and your reaction to his first role play is,
fuck this, I'm done. It knocked the wind out of my sails. It made me feel like I wasted too much time on my first one, and it was probably pointless to even start a second one. I don't know. I mean, it defeated me. I mean, the thing was, including all the including some of the formatting. I mean, the thing was damn near 8,000 words. That's a fucking chapter in a book. That he asked me. So here's the thing. He asked me or if I would like to do a gentleman's agreement, 2 role plays apiece. He had some things come up. He knew I had a tight schedule. So I said, great. This is going to be easier for both of us. You know, we can concentrate on just putting out good things as opposed to forcing 3 roles or whatever. And then he posts his first role, which is the size of, you know, I don't know, a normal person's 2, maybe 3 role plays. And so it was defeating. And I tried real hard, like, don't concentrate on the size. Size doesn't matter. But Craig, we all know size matters.
That's right. It does.
And so, I mean, it was defeating. And I think in addition to my time constraints, one of the reasons why my second role play didn't come close to being as good as my first was because I felt like I didn't stand a chance. Teasy's an extremely intimidating person to go up against.
Right.
So I don't know.
So you don't have any advice to say the person that's going up against Teasy next, whoever that might be?
Start transcribing pages out of Hemingway and go from there. I honestly have no idea. Other than I don't know. You got to do what I did for my first one, and that was try and put out your best work and not. Maybe here's my advice. Actually, I've rethought this. Here's my advice. Don't read anything Teasy puts out. Just ignore it. Maybe even stay away from the boards and just write your best role plays and just don't even worry about what he's doing, because if you read his work or spend enough time staring at his work, I do think it'll completely it'll sink your ship, man.
That's I think that advice actually works, and you know, you can get caught up. I think you can go into a week like a pay-per-view or a big match and have an idea of things you want to do and things you want to say, and then you can get caught up in the act of responding. Like honestly, I'm not trying to take the attention off you, but like a week I went up against Eddie Kingston on Slam. Like, he got up his role play first, and I was like, damn it, like, I really wanted to go first. And then I read it, and I was like, well, fuck, I have to respond to all of this. Like, I can't just let this go. And I just completely went away from the idea I had, where I was going to, like, paint him as, you know, I won't give it away because I might have a match with him down the line, but I had an idea of what I wanted to do against him, and then I started reading his stuff, and I was like, well, there goes those ideas. I got to respond to this. Like, I got to say this and this and this now, and then do this, and it just kind of... I'm not saying I would have beat him had I done my ideas. I might have been just fucking squashed. I don't know. But it took away from the game plan I had. And I think, you know, that's definitely along the lines that you're talking about. I would absolutely agree. And I don't think that's always the case. You know, sometimes reading somebody's work actually makes yours better. But more often than not, I find that, like, when I read somebody's role play going up against me or going up against Cleve and I do feel like I now have to go line by line and respond to what they've just said. Like and I think that it tends to make my work shittier because it suddenly becomes unnatural, and I'm suddenly like, you know, okay, well, they implied in one of their scenes or in some sort of introduction in their role play that we're old and stupid and broken legs and Tammy Lee's ugly, and so now I have to find a way to say that, like, we're not broken and stupid and we deserve these belts and Tammy's not ugly, and I have to find a way to respond to that without actually saying that they said that, because they didn't really say it, they said it in scene, right?
You know, in dialogue or whatever, and it's just. I do think, unfortunately, oftentimes it goes both ways. If you don't have any ideas, sometimes reading somebody else's work will spark an idea in your head, and it'll make your work better. But if you do have some pretty solid ideas, I think you can get derailed pretty easily by reading somebody else's work, or psyched out, or riled up in not a positive way, because now you're pissed off, and so you're no longer even like being creative or good. You're just I'm gonna stomp your face in because fuck you.
Yeah, I think once it gets to that point, it becomes less about telling a story and more about shit talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't really enjoy shit talk. It's not very exciting for me, and it I don't know, maybe it's satisfying in the moment, but when I go back and read it, like, Diamond Dallas Page would never call Chris Sabin an ass monkey or something like that, but or whatever, like, or Kevin Nash would never say that he wanted to take a dump on Gregory Iron's face. Like, but you find yourself writing these things because you're like so heated and I don't know, it makes for shitty work.
Yeah, you get kind of just caught up in it. Let's talk about the week leading up to that pay-per-view when GM Harry Smith came out on Slam and announced that CM Punk would be choosing his opponent, and he would have the luxury of choosing between the tag team champions, Kevin Nash and Diamond Dallas Page. Now, from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you and Cleve and Teasy, none of you three had any insight into this was the angle that was going to be used heading into Lethal Lottery. So what was your initial reaction to finding, or just reading that and finding out where it was, like where your plans for Lethal Lottery were going?
Well, Cleve and I had both talked, and we had decided that neither one of us wanted to participate in Lethal Lottery because, for multiple reasons, mainly because he was traveling or doing whatever the hell Cleve does, and I was in the process of moving and changing jobs and doing some shit like that. But more so, we also were straying away from Lethal Lottery because historically Cleve and I don't fare too well at Lethal Lottery. I believe last year Newt gave us the opportunity of a lifetime where by pure chance and fate, Kevin Nash and Diamond Dallas Page, the tag team, were actually a tag team in Lethal Lottery, and we fucked that up and completely bombed it and made ourselves look like idiots or whatever. And so we were just going to avoid this pay-per-view altogether. And in Newt's eyes, he saw two guys who are fairly close to the top of the EWA, aren't doing anything in this pay-per-view. That's a perfect opportunity to give them, a title shot, and maybe a deserved one, maybe not. But either way, we were two guys who weren't involved in Lethal Lottery and should be in some capacity, perhaps. And so it completely caught us off guard. And Newt kind of left it up to storyline-wise, it was left up to Punk to decide. But in reality, it was kind of left up to Cleve and I and TZ to figure out who wanted to take the shot. And Cleve and I bantered back and forth, trying to convince each other to take the shot for several days. And finally, Cleve was like, you should do it. And so I said, well, all right,
What a convincing argument by Cleve.
yeah, well.
Hey, you should do it. Okay, all right, then you convinced me, Cleve.
Yeah, he does have a background in radio and goes to college, so, he's a very persuasive speaker.
Yes, he is. I understand that firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, I knew one of us had to take it, and the reality was, like, as much as I didn't want to take it because I didn't know if I could do it, and I didn't know if I could do it well, and not just because I'm dogging on myself, but because I didn't really have time to really write anything, I simultaneously knew that, like, an opportunity like this might not come around for a while. I mean, we have a extremely competitive Grand Slam division, and all those guys, with the exception of maybe Cody Rhodes, deserves to be in that title picture. And I don't, I thought maybe if I passed on this opportunity, I don't know when the next time Diamond Dallas Page will be recognized in this capacity. And so, yeah, it was decided that we'd go with DDP. And it kind of worked out because, like, my argument for why Punk should choose Kevin Nash over DDP was that, Nash is broken and his knees give out every 30 seconds, so Punk should choose Nash because then if Punk beats Nash, he can, Cleve can just blame it on Nash's shitty knees or the injury or whatever, and TZ sort of felt, well, like, Punk isn't a bitch and would obviously choose the healthier of the two members of the Vegas Connection, the guy who would actually give him a challenge. And I don't know. It worked out for the best. And it honestly, even though I lost, I do think it's probably a career highlight, and it might be at least the most exciting thing that I've ever been a part of, and I consider it an honor to lose to TZ and to the CM Punk character, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity, and if something like that never comes up again, I'm not angry about it, because honestly, losing to TZ was more satisfying than I don't know.
Probably anyone else, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
With as quickly as the storyline came together, and with the situations and circumstances surrounding the match, with Diamond Dallas Page already being an EWA Tag Team Champion, was there ever a point where you felt like, yeah, like Diamond Dallas Page can win this match?
Yeah, like there's, as a role player, I always feel like an underdog, and I do feel like despite the success that Diamond Dallas Page as a character has had in the EWA, I still try and play him like an underdog. A guy who never deserved to be in wrestling, has always been too old to be in wrestling, but just by sheer determination and will, and the fact that he's smart and quick in the ring, like I've always felt like that there's the potential for him to win, and I did. Going into writing that first role play, I intentionally tried to do something that I had never done before, and it's something I've been working on just in general, or maybe not even working on so much as thinking about.
Write something good for once? Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Oh.
I think here's the problem, is that I got a bill collector calling me here. Let me ignore that call. So here's the problem with role plays for me, and just my problem with role plays in general. It's that most people write role plays as the scene opens up. A character is standing somewhere. The camera pivots and turns. The character says some shit. Scene fades. Well, the reality is no wrestler in the history of time is followed by a cameraman at all times, to where week after week a camera would happen to be in a car with him, a camera would happen to be with him while he's at a cafe. Like, unless somebody's doing a documentary on some wrestler, no wrestler in the history of time is followed by a fucking cameraman 24/7. Or like, so I've been frustrated by that. The fact that, like, I naturally, every time I sit down to try and write a role play, it's like the scene opens up and Diamond Dallas Page is waking up and the camera pans around his hotel room, and it's like, no, man, no fucking camera would ever be following Diamond Dallas Page, especially when the dude's waking up. And so what I'm getting at here is that I've been thinking a lot lately, is like, I want to concentrate more on the story and writing a story, and what is this guy doing? What is this guy thinking? What's actually going on in his life? Because he's not going to be cutting a promo while driving down the fucking road. No, he's going to be eating McDonald's or health food or taking a shit or something like that. And like, there's not going to be a camera around him. So how do you write a role play without writing a role play? And I think the trick is to write it more like a story, you know, when you, and so I don't know what I'm getting at necessarily.
Well, I think what you're saying is there's a huge difference between a personal narrative and a role play.
Right.
Where in the role play, you have a guy by yourself. I have Cody Rhodes by himself in his house, and he addresses the camera and starts talking. Whereas a personal narrative, which is kind of what you're talking about, would see DDP alone in his house talking on his phone. And that would be how he has a conversation, or how he gets his point of the role play across, right?
Right, absolutely.
So what was... You went with the... for those of you who haven't read Fuzz's Lethal Lottery work, I implore you to go and read it. But where did you derive the inspiration for the psychoanalysis of the dreams and whatnot?
Well, it started with the fact that I've always known that at some point in time I would have to mention the fact that Diamond Dallas Page was once married to Kimberly Page. Anybody who knows anything about DDP can't forget the fact that the Diamond Doll, Kimberly Page's existence. And I've intentionally tried to never mention that, never make mention of that, because I didn't want to bring the character into the EWA for whatever reason. And I felt like partially too because I couldn't have Tammy Lynn be his manager if Kimberly sort of existed in our universe. That would just be weird for some reason. And I think once or twice maybe in the history of time I've had Dallas say that, I don't have anything in this world except for like a banging ex-wife or something stupid like that. But I've always known that was a subject that at some point in time I should explore or mention. And so when I started writing, I don't know. It started with the fact that I figured that because of the fact that Dallas never mentions it, that's probably something that haunts him a little bit. And so it just started there. It started with Dallas talking to somebody who ended up turning out to be, a doctor, and the fact that Dallas kept referring to her or his ex-wife without ever saying Kimberly because he's avoiding it, but he's obviously thinking about it. And I don't know. It didn't start when I started writing. I just wanted to try and tell a beautiful love story about the first time that Dallas and Kimberly ever got together, and it ended up taking a strange and delightful turn, and it's maybe my favorite thing that I've done role play wise, especially in the EWA.
And of course, the feedback you got for it was tremendous, and a lot of people thought that because of the depth that you gave the character of Diamond Dallas Page, which I'm not saying that you don't do it with your tag team role plays, but you did something with DDP that we've never really seen before. It's almost like you made him vulnerable. Yeah. And I think that's what people enjoyed the most, is it felt real, and it wasn't like the real DDP real. It was just like, this is like a real issue he's tackling. Like, he's not just out smoking and drinking and, going across Las Vegas. Like, this is a person that has, real issues. And no, I completely agree. And a part of my mindset was that I felt okay with showing DDP be vulnerable because Kevin Nash wasn't present. Mm-hmm. My mindset is that it was almost in the absence of his tag team partner that, because he was spending time alone on the road, that he was finally forced to deal with or think about some of these issues that he's normally able to ignore because he's easily distracted by drinking or bullshitting or eating hot dogs and playing practical jokes or whatever the hell he and Nash normally do. And so it just felt like the right time, I guess. But I don't know. I think it's a side of Page that came out at the right time, but I don't necessarily think that side of the Page character should always be out or should always be present, because I think that would eventually make him look extremely weak. And I don't know. So I don't know where to go with it necessarily, but... Well, it's something that, the way that you talk about, you presented it, you don't have to have Kevin Nash ever acknowledge it because it's not something that was, televised.
Right.
Per se, so that can just kind of be DDP's foray into singles competition. I think it'd be ludicrous to say that there's not another shot for Diamond Dallas Page or a character controlled by Fuzz down the line, because your writing for that was tremendous. Obviously, your writing for the Vegas Connection is tremendous. There's no way you guys could carry on this year and a half title reign or whatever it is with just a couple weeks vacation in there from the Zaibatsu. And, I think the one positive you can take away from the deep level DDP role plays is that DDP didn't shoot anybody.
You note that I'm at a loss for words right now.
Because you're deeply touched by all of this.
Yes. So Craig, I know it is your podcast and you are the host, but I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
So how exactly did you manage to go from perhaps the most devastating loss of Cody Rhodes' career? I mean, he's the guy that fucking beat Val Venus when fucking nobody could beat Val Venus. Yeah. And you've been so dominating of the national title scene that people don't even bother to role play. People quit the Fed when they're booked against you.
Yeah.
So how do you go from all of that? How do you manage to turn that around and find yourself in the hot seat? The greatest, you're in a position that most people have to defeat everybody else in the entire Fed to get at. Most people have to go through a grueling lethal lottery tournament to win a title shot or a gigantic civil war. How the hell do you get it?
That's a great question. I think the fact that I was able to do that podcast with Newt, and then I just called him because he gave me a cell number, and I was like, listen, I don't want to wait any longer. I'm a part of the elite. It's me, you, and Brett and John in there. So, let's go ahead and just red carpet my title shot. Let's just go ahead and get that over with. And that's pretty much it. Just made a call to Newt, and he's like, yep, sounds good. Go ahead and get that written up.
Huh.
Actually, what really happened is it's kind of a case of it just falling into my lap. I hate to go behind the scenes and do kayfabe type stuff when it comes to this, but I'll go ahead. As you've said, John may have his hands full with the tag title scene at the upcoming pay-per-view, and so that takes away his lethal lottery shot at this pay-per-view. Not saying he doesn't have it, but that just takes away that.
Which I'd be lying if I said that I was hoping that he didn't decide to not go against us again in turn for this, but that didn't work out in my favor.
And then Brett, who is a Civil War champion, he had some business to take care of that week of Red, White, and Bruise. So I think he was out of town for 4 days that week. And so that kind of left a giant vacancy in the Grand Slam title scene. Some people contacted me. I contacted some people, and we got some stuff worked out. And, I'm very fortunate. I think this title shot coming up at the pay-per-view is a testament to not my writing per se, but a testament of consistency. I've never no-showed. I've never half-assed it. If I'm booked in something, I've been there, and I feel like this title shot is a reward for that. Is a reward for coming in a year ago this time and biding my time and not demanding title shots or anything along the way, and just having fun and always doing what's been expected of me. Now, whether that's resulted in wins or losses, that's not been for me to decide, but I've always put forth an effort, and I kind of feel like this is what this title shot is at Red, White, and Bruise is representing to me, and
Well, I think it's completely deserved to you as a role player, and I think storyline wise, it played out very well on Slam. Cody Rhodes got to be cocky and Cody Rhodes and show up and say, well, if you guys aren't going to take the shot, I'll take the shot, and it ended up playing out very well.
Yeah, I could not be more thankful to John and Brett and TZ and Bryce for the segment. It was actually kind of funny. We use a Google Drive, and this segment was an introduction to Google Drive to Bryce John, and Teasy all together. And there was one point last Thursday when I woke up and signed on, and all 5 of us were in the Google Drive document, like working on it at the same time. And that's always fun. And I know, Steve, you were the one that there's a thread out there a long time ago that said, hey, try Google Drive. And I think we all made fun of you, Steve. And, I apologize, but we've been using it for months, even before Super Bowl, and it's been a giant blessing. And it made the segment flow a lot better and made it a lot more fun, and it wasn't blocked off like you talk here and you talk here, and it was just more fluid, and it was just fun to work with those guys and do some stuff. And these upcoming weeks, Teasy and I, we've spoken, and we have some fun stuff coming up, and it all starts with the role play that I just posted before I came on this podcast with you called Start Spreading the News. So if you want to go in there and check out how the Cody Rhodes CM Punk saga starts out for the month of June into Red, White, and Boom, check out that role play, and I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun time, and I hope that I can put my best foot forward that last week of June. That's the plan, anyways. So
I look forward to it.
Thank you for asking. One more thing before we go. Let's go ahead and just get this out of the way. Let's do a little penis in Uranus.
And now it's time for
Penis in Uranus, 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 penis in Uranus.
Okay.
And if this is your first podcast, fuck you for starting at 12. I'm not going to explain to you what penis in Uranus is, but Fuzz, the floor is yours. I'd prefer EWA, but if you have some problem with the WWE, that's fine. But I want you to think of something in the EWA or the WWE or both that just bothers you. Like, it doesn't even really have to bother you. It's just a minor annoyance, maybe. Just something you'd like to see different, something you'd like to change. I know that before you came on and you talked about just getting rid of the Hall of Fame, right? That was your idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely abolish it.
Yeah, and make all those characters readily available to new and current members. Is there anything else that you would like to that's kind of a pain in your aim?
Well, I should clarify. It wasn't abolishing the Hall of Fame. It was abolishing the notion of an EWA alumni.
Okay, hold on. Let me. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to. How do you feel about this? How about a Hall of Fame where the member, the handler, is inducted and not the character?
Well, that's interesting. I think.
Okay, how would you feel if Fuzz was in the EWA Hall of Fame and Diamond Dallas Page was readily available to character or handlers after your time in EWA is done? Would you be all right with that?
No, I'd be absolutely furious. One of the reasons why I'll never leave the EWA is because I don't want anybody else to ever touch Diamond Dallas Page. I've become very, very protective of the character. I should explain. I'm fine with a Hall of Fame. A Hall of Fame is a tight knit group of people. One, maybe 2 people are added each year, or characters are added each year. But we don't have a Hall of Fame. We have this giant EWA alumni, which is everybody who has ever been in the EWA from the beginning of time that was here for a long time. So I'm okay with a Hall of Fame, because then each year 1 or 2 characters are inducted and they're forever put there. But I don't know, the notion of, and maybe this is just because I just joined the EWA a couple of years ago, but in my eyes, what the fuck did Terry Funk ever do in the EWA? I don't know, but his profile is in the EWA alumni, so I have no idea. So I don't know. I don't think that bothers me. What really bothers me is I just want Cleve Rye to control the character of Shane Douglas. I want to take him off of that book tour and throw him back in the fucking ring and triple threat. Hallelujah, hell yeah. I want the franchise to be back kicking ass, and I want Cleve Rye to be behind that thing, and that has really nothing to do with anything else. I'm fine with a Hall of Fame, but I don't think that. I think there's a difference between a Hall of Fame and an alumni, and I recall on the last before we lost everything on the board, I thought there used to be a specific Hall of Fame section that had specific people in the Hall of Fame, but that has now just been collapsed into this giant alumni thing. But whatever, none of that fucking matters. So the penis in my anus is, I was originally, I thought about this, and I was going to bitch about like lengthy role plays and how nobody needs to write a chapter of a book for a role play or whatever. But that was just really me feeling defeated by how great Bick, John, and TZ are or whatever. So my penis in my anus is aside from the podcast.
That sounded like penis in your anus, but go ahead.
Yeah, my penis in my anus is aside from the podcast.
Of course.
There are several awesome things that the EWA has that are not readily updated, being the rankings and the EWA magazine specifically. Now, don't get me wrong. I want to clarify. I understand why those don't get updated.
Totally.
I understand that fucking Newt is busy. I understand that that's a time commitment. I completely am not angry at any person for not updating or doing those things. It's just frustrating because I get excited about them when they are there, and then I wait for them, and then they never show up. And then by the time they show up again, it feels like a brand new thing that makes me want to not acknowledge previous rankings or not acknowledge previous magazines, because by the time there's a new magazine or new rankings, it feels like a whole new thing, new incarnation of it or whatever, and there's just no consistency.
I want to go on record right now, and I want to say this, and I know Newt's going to listen to this, and I don't know what he wants to do, and I know he likes to have control of a lot of stuff, but Newt, when you listen to this, I, Craig Allen, will single-handedly update the power rankings on a weekly basis dependent on each show. I'm saying it right now. Now, whether I have to do that in my own thread on a weekly basis or I send them to Newt and he posts them, I'm coming out and saying right now, I feel like the power rankings are a valuable asset to this group, and while it is just one person's opinion, I think it shows who's rising, who's falling, who's making noise here in the EWA, and it lets new members, like when the Eddie Kingstons came in and when Brock Lesnar came in, it lets their work get recognized. Oh, absolutely. And I think it's probably incredibly encouraging for those guys. I mean, if you look at April's power rankings, Eddie Kingston is above Val Venus, the Coalition, Cody Rhodes, the Vegas Connection, literally above everybody. And for me, if I was a new member and saw that I had made that big of an impact, that would be the biggest motivation ever for me to just throw myself further into my work or throw myself further into EWA. And it also, one of the reasons why I think the power rankings are so valuable is the fact that, like, every week or every month that they have been posted, the Vegas Connection has always been fairly low on it. And then I get to read why that is or whatever. You know, they didn't do much or didn't really beat anybody. And that to me motivates me. Like, it makes me go, okay, we're the tag team champions, but we're only ranked 8. We need to step up our game, and we need to figure out what the fuck we're doing wrong so we can climb up these power rankings. So I do think they're incredibly valuable, and they're great motivators. You know, it's not everybody can get a title shot, and not everybody can be in the main event, but everybody has the opportunity to be, you know, in that top spot on the power rankings. So totally agree, and that's why I'm putting myself out there and saying that, you know, I have no problems helping out with this. I have no problems, you know, hopefully, you know, helping out with this, because I feel like they truly are, you know, and a lot of E-Feds have them, but I feel like here they're used so well to help promote new talent as well as current talent and keep everything kind of, you know, I think it kind of helps keep stories going as well. So, yeah, I concur with your penis in your anus, and I'm totally down with that. And, you know, I think this has been one of the best podcasts I've had. Honestly, Fuzz, you are such a tremendous person to have on, and I love picking your brain and talking to you. You're so complex and competitive, and you take this seriously. And I've had talks with we've had talks in the EWA chat, and I've had people message me about stuff, and the one constant that I tell people about this, and it's kind of like The Secret. Whenever that book came out, that self-help book, The Secret.
Yeah.
This is kind of like this is the secret to EWA. You get out of it what you put in.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you want to take this seriously, and if you want to make this a priority, you'll be rewarded for it.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of people look at it after a while as like, oh, this is ridiculous and stupid. I'm pretending to be a wrestler online. And it's not that at all. It's a creative outlet. It's an opportunity to dive in and create a world and create a character, and it gives you deadlines. And it gives you motivation to tell stories and create things, and I don't know. I mean, I constantly feel ridiculous about it when I really think about it, but I take the EWA extremely seriously, and it's extremely important, and it's a priority to me because as a writer or anybody who does anything creatively, like, you need deadlines, and you need to force yourself to do it, and to do it continuously, and I just think it's a great opportunity, and I think that we have a lot of phenomenal members here, and I think that the more members work together or talk with one another, the more we bring out the best in one another, and we're not just pretending to be people we're not. We're being writers, and we're being creators, and we're being storytellers, and it's not just shit talk, and so
it's no different than the people who write screenplays and the people that write novels with a lot of dialogue. Like, it's no different than that. Like, I know I don't have to justify it with the people that are listening to this, and I know I don't have to justify it with you. We know why we do this, and we may all have our different reasons. It might be to tell a story or to just be the best, but it's frustrating as shit to see people come in and be like, well, what should I do different? Or, like, why am I losing? Because as soon as you stop writing for you and you start writing to please someone else, you're doing this for the wrong reason.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree, Craig.
So that's why I love talking to you. I love having you on, because you and I are two people cut from the very same cloth when it comes to attitudes, and so it's been an extreme pleasure to have you on. We set a deadline for how long we wanted to talk, and we blew right past that, so I'm more than happy with that, and I think people will have enjoyed this podcast. So I want to thank you for coming on. You're more than welcome back anytime. I wish the Vegas Connection the best of luck in the future, and hope you guys can tell a great story heading into Red, White, and Bruised, and best of luck to you and whoever your opponents may be at that show.
Thanks, sir.
All right, Fuzz, have a good one. If you want to join me on the podcast, feel free to download Skype, get a screen name on there, send me a PM on the forum, that's Craig, and then tell me what your screen name is. We'll work it out, we'll get a date set, and we'll get you on the podcast. Best of luck to everyone this week on Slam. Best of luck to everyone coming up. Everyone have a great month. Tell some great stories. And maybe, just maybe, we'll see you on the Power Rankings. What do you say, Fuzz?
Hell yeah.
All right. Have a good one, guys.